With all due respect, which is none, your species is a cosmic joke. The Grand Counselor of the Galactic Federation, a towering mass of crystalline formations that sparkled with smug superiority, directed this statement at Earth's first diplomatic representative to the stars. The human diplomat, Catherine Walsh, maintained her composure even as several of the alien delegates tittered and chortled in their various species-specific ways. "A cosmic joke?" she repeated, her tone carrying just the right amount of polite inquiry, mixed with barely concealed amusement. "Please, elaborate. I'm absolutely fascinated to hear your reasoning." The crystalline being's facets flickered with what passed for irritation among the crystallocs. "Your species spent millennia fighting over imaginary lines on your planet's surface. You poisoned your own atmosphere. You nearly drove yourselves extinct multiple times. And now you dare to present yourself as equals?" Catherine adjusted her suit jacket, a power move as old as human diplomacy itself, and smiled. Not the practiced diplomatic smile she'd refined over years of service, but the kind of smile that made apex predators remember they weren't alone at the top of the food chain. "Fascinating perspective, Grand Counselor. Though I can't help but notice you've managed to completely misread our species' greatest strength while listing what you perceive as our weaknesses. Would you like to know what that strength is?" The chamber, filled with representatives from over 300 species, hummed with a mixture of derision and curiosity. The crystallox leader's edges sharpened, their equivalent of raising an eyebrow. "Enlighten us, human." The way they said human made it sound like a communicable disease. "Our greatest strength? We're absolutely terrible at giving up." A wave of translator-assisted laughter rippled through the chamber. Catherine waited patiently for it to die down, her smile never wavering. "You see, Grand Counselor, those imaginary lines you mentioned? We fought over them because we're passionate enough to die for our beliefs, and wise enough to eventually learn from our mistakes. That poisoned atmosphere? We're cleaning it up because humans don't just roll over and accept defeat, even from our own mistakes. Those near extinctions? Each one taught us something valuable about survival." She paused, noting with satisfaction how the laughter had died away, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. "But here's the really interesting part. You're right about one thing. We're not equals." Catherine's voice carried through the chamber with crystal clarity. "We're your evolutionary superiors." The outrage was immediate and magnificent. Delegates rose from their seats, tentacles waved, crystalline structures vibrated with indignation, and various atmospheric processors worked overtime to handle the increased respiration of dozens of species. Catherine raised her hand, and somehow, impossibly, the chamber fell silent. "Allow me to demonstrate. Grand Counselor, how long did it take your species to achieve faster-than-light travel after discovering nuclear fission?" The crystallox leader's surfaces rippled with pride. 342 cycles, the fastest of any species in the Federation. "Interesting. We did it in 87 years. Catherine's smile widened as murmurs spread through the chamber. "But that's not the impressive part. The impressive part is that we did it while half our planet was convinced it was impossible, while our resources were limited by environmental concerns, while dealing with political upheaval, and while making enough streaming entertainment content to fill several lifetimes." She began to pace, her heels clicking against the chamber floor in a steady rhythm. "You see, every species here evolved in response to their environment. You adapted to survive. Humans? We got tired of adapting and decided to make the environment adapt to us instead. Too cold? We invented fire and central heating. Too hot? Air conditioning. Can't fly? Build planes. Space is a vacuum? Hold my coffee while I invent artificial gravity and portable atmosphere generators." The Grand Counselor's crystalline form had lost some of its luster. "Your point being?" "My point, dear Counselor, is that while you were all slowly and sensibly evolving to fit your environments, we humans looked at evolution and said, nah, too slow, and invented our way around it. We're the species that got tired of waiting for wings to evolve and jumped off a cliff with some canvas strapped to our arms to see what would happen." She turned to address the entire chamber now. "You call us primitive because we fight wars? We call ourselves innovative because we turned our most destructive impulses into competitive sports and video games. You think we're barbaric because we survived multiple near extinctions? We think we're resilient because each time we came back stronger. You see a species that poisoned its atmosphere? We see one that's figured out how to terraform planets because we had to practice on our own first." The chamber was dead silent now, every delegate hanging on her words. "But you want to know the real reason humans are going to not just survive but thrive in this galaxy?" Catherine's voice dropped to an almost conspiratorial tone. It's because we're the species that looked into the infinite void of space, and instead of feeling small, we felt challenged. We're the ones who named our own planet's satellite Moon, and then decided to walk on it just to prove we could. We're the species that turned the most fundamental forces of the universe into equations, just so we could break them more efficiently. She straightened her jacket again. So yes, Grand Counselor, you're absolutely right. We're not equals. We're the species that speed-ran evolution because we were too impatient to wait for natural selection. We're the ones who looked at the laws of physics and treated them more like guidelines. We're the civilization that turned our own near extinctions into learning experiences. Catherine walked back to her podium, each step deliberate. And now we're here, standing in your council chamber. Not because we followed some predetermined evolutionary path, but because we decided the stars weren't just meant to be reached. They were meant to be colonized, studied, and probably turned into tourist attractions with overpriced gift shops. The chamber remained silent for a long moment before the Arxian delegate, a being composed primarily of floating gas clouds, spoke up. And what precisely do you expect us to do with this perspective of yours? Catherine's smile turned diplomatic again. Oh, that's entirely up to you. You can either accept Earth's application for Federation membership and gain allies who turned their own planetary crisis into a manual for terraforming, or you can reject us and watch as we cheerfully ignore your existence while we colonize the galaxy anyway. Because if there's one thing humans are really, really good at, it's treating cosmic-level obstacles as personal challenges. She gathered her notes. I'll give you time to discuss. Oh, and Grand Counselor? The crystalline being's facets turned toward her. The next time you want to call someone's species a cosmic joke, you might want to check if they're the ones writing the punchline. With that, Catherine turned and walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a stunned silence that was soon broken by the furious buzz of hundreds of species trying to process what they'd just witnessed. 3 days later, Earth's Federation membership was unanimously approved. The official reason cited was recognition of humanity's unique problem-solving capabilities and innovative potential. Unofficially, it was because every species in the Federation had come to the same conclusion. It would be far safer to have humanity as allies than to risk them getting bored and deciding to revolutionize galactic civilization just for fun. Catherine's speech became required study material at the Federation's Diplomatic Academy, though students were strictly advised not to attempt replicating her approach unless they too came from a species that had speedrun evolution through sheer stubbornness. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, humanity continued doing what it did best, proving that the impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet because nobody was stubborn enough to try. You did what? Ambassador Catherine Walsh's aide, Michael Thompson, stared at her with a mixture of horror and awe as they sat in their embassy office on Centaurus Prime, the Federation's capital world. Catherine sipped her coffee, real Earth coffee imported at ridiculous expense, and shrugged. I told them we speed-ran evolution. You told the most powerful governing body in known space that humans are evolutionary speedrunners. Michael collapsed into his chair, running his hands through his gray-streaked hair. And they approved our membership? Unanimously. Catherine's smug smile hadn't faded since the vote, though I think the Crystallox Grand Counselor might have developed some new facets from sheer indignation. Do you have any idea what EarthGov is going to say about this? Probably something along the lines of, what the hell were you thinking, followed by, holy shit, it worked, and then a very quiet promotion. She set down her coffee cup. But that's not the interesting part. Michael groaned. There's an interesting part? Oh yes. You see, after my little speech, I received some unofficial communications from several member species. Turns out we're not the only ones who think the Federation could use a shakeup. The holoscreen on Catherine's desk flickered to life, displaying a series of messages. Michael leaned forward, his professional curiosity overcoming his existential dread. The Arxians want to collaborate on atmospheric manipulation technologies, Catherine explained, scrolling through the messages. The Valaxians are interested in our entertainment industry. Apparently, they're fascinated by the concept of reality TV, because they can't understand why we would deliberately create drama when real life has plenty. And the quantum collective? Well, they want to know how we managed to turn quantum mechanics into a practical joke. We what? Apparently, our understanding of quantum entanglement as spooky action at a distance, and then proceeding to use it for faster-than-light communications struck them as hilarious. They spent millennia treating quantum mechanics with religious reverence, and we turned it into a tech startup opportunity. Michael rubbed his temples. So not only did you not get us rejected from the Federation, you've accidentally turned humanity into the galaxy's most interesting consulting firm? Not accidentally. Catherine's smile turned predatory. You didn't think I gave that speech just to be dramatic, did you? Understanding dawned on Michael's face. You were marketing us. Bingo. See, here's what I figured out during the preliminary meetings. The Federation has a problem. They're stable. Too stable. Every member species developed along predictable lines, evolved sensibly, and approached technological advancement with careful consideration. And that stability has led to stagnation. Michael finished, beginning to see the bigger picture. Exactly. They need chaos monkeys in their system. They need someone who looks at the impossible and treats it like a personal challenge. They need humans. Catherine nodded. The speech wasn't just a defense of humanity. It was a product demonstration. We're not just joining the Federation. We're positioning ourselves as innovation consultants to an entire galaxy of species who have forgotten how to think outside the box. She pulled up another set of messages on the holoscreen. The Crystallocs might have publicly dismissed us as primitive, but privately? They're desperate to understand how we developed our quantum crystalline computing so quickly. The hive minds of Sector 7 want to know how we managed to maintain individuality while working in groups. And the Temporal Research Council is still trying to process the fact that we invented time travel 3 times by accident, and then decided it was too much paperwork to pursue. Michael stared at the messages, his diplomatic training warring with his sense of disbelief. So what you're saying is... What I'm saying is that humanity just became the galaxy's premier innovation consultants, and we did it by being exactly what they accused us of being, unpredictable, stubborn, and completely unwilling to accept limitations. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the crystalline spires of Centaurus Prime. You know what the really funny part is? The Grand Counselor called us a cosmic joke, not realizing that the real joke is on them. They thought they were getting a primitive species they could control. Instead, they got humanity at its finest, ready to turn the entire galaxy into our own personal research and development playground. And EarthGov? We'll be ecstatic once they realize what this means for our economy. Think about it. We're about to export human ingenuity to an entire galaxy of clients who have more resources than they know what to do with, and problems they don't even know they have yet. Michael was quiet for a moment, then started laughing. You know what the best part is? You basically told them exactly what we were going to do, right to their faces, and they still didn't see it coming. Of course not. Catherine returned to her desk. They evolved to be sensible. We evolved to be clever. She picked up her coffee cup again. Now, want to help me draft our first consulting proposal? The Quantum Collective is willing to pay an absolutely ridiculous amount to learn how we turned quantum physics into memes. As Michael pulled up his datapad, still chuckling, Catherine's personal communicator chimed with another message. It was from the Grand Counselor's office, marked Private and Confidential. Regarding your earlier presentation to the Council, how soon can you arrange a consultation on human-style innovation techniques? Asking for a friend. Catherine's laughter echoed through the embassy, causing several nearby Federation species to experience what would later be termed human-induced anxiety, a condition that would soon become very common throughout the galaxy. The cosmic joke, it seemed, was just getting started, and humanity, as usual, was writing the punchline. Okay, which one of you taught the hive minds about office politics? Catherine Walsh stormed into the newly established Human Innovation Consulting headquarters, waving a holographic report that displayed what appeared to be an all-out civil war between different factions of the previously unified Sector 7 Hive Mind Collective. Michael looked up from his desk, where he'd been reviewing proposals for humanizing various alien technological approaches. Don't look at me. I just taught them about water cooler gossip. Well, someone introduced them to corporate restructuring, and now they've split into competing hives with different company cultures. Catherine pinched the bridge of her nose. One faction has gone full startup, complete with beanbag chairs and casual Fridays. Do you know how disturbing it is to see a hive mind trying to implement casual Fridays? Not as disturbing as what the Quantum Collective is doing with their new meme division, called out Dr. Amanda Pierce from her corner office. The quantum physicist turned cultural consultant had been handling most of the physics-related inquiries from Federation species. They've started making quantum uncertainty principle jokes. Bad ones. How bad? Michael asked, immediately regretting the question. Here's their latest attempt. Why did the quantum particle get kicked out of school? Because when the teacher observed its position, its momentum was all over the place. Amanda shuddered. They're very proud of it. Catherine dropped into her chair, which automatically adjusted to her preferred ergonomic settings. A human innovation that had become wildly popular among Federation species capable of sitting. We may have created a monster. The Crystallocs sent me their latest proposal for disrupting the crystalline computing paradigm. They want to introduce planned obsolescence. That's not so bad, Michael offered. They want to do it by having their crystals deliberately develop cracks after a set period. Michael, they're literally planning to build in structural failures. To themselves. Oh. And don't even get me started on the Arxians. They've embraced the concept of thinking outside the box so enthusiastically that they're now trying to patent non-Euclidean marketing strategies. They're advertising in dimensions that technically don't exist. The office's AI assistant, another human innovation that had scandalized the Federation's AI Ethics Committee, chimed in. Incoming priority message from the Federation Council. Marked Urgent, Crisis Level Alpha. Catherine sighed. Put it through. The Grand Counselor's crystalline form materialized in the center of the office, facets notably duller than usual. Ambassador Walsh, we need to discuss the current situation. The unprecedented wave of innovation that's revolutionizing the Federation and driving economic growth across 17 sectors, Catherine offered innocently. The chaos that's threatening to unravel 12,000 years of stable civilization, the counselor corrected. Do you know what the Valaxians have done? Implemented their new entertainment division? They've started a reality show about the council proceedings. They're calling it Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Galactic Edition. Michael choked on his coffee. And the ratings are? Catherine asked, maintaining her diplomatic composure through sheer force of will. Astronomical, the counselor admitted reluctantly. But that's not the point. The Quantum Collective is demanding we add a meme review section to our official proceedings. The hive minds are having arguments with themselves about proper email etiquette. The Temporal Research Council has started a betting pool on their own research outcomes. Sounds like innovation is proceeding ahead of schedule, Catherine noted, checking her tablet. We've already exceeded our projected paradigm shift metrics for the quarter. Ambassador Walsh. The counselor's tone turned serious. When we accepted humanity into the Federation, we expected some disruption. But this is beyond anything we anticipated. You've introduced concepts that are fundamentally changing how our species think and behave. That was rather the point, yes. The Federation Council requests your immediate assistance in managing this transition period. Catherine leaned forward. Oh? And what exactly would this assistance entail? We need you to teach us how to... What's your human phrase? Roll with it. The office fell silent. Let me get this straight, Catherine said slowly. You want humanity to consult on how to deal with the consequences of our consulting? The Federation has experienced more change in the past 3 months than in the previous 3 centuries, the counselor stated. We need to adapt, and since your species seems to have turned adaptation into an extreme sport, you're our best option. Catherine glanced at Michael, who was already pulling up a new contract template. We'd be happy to help, though I should warn you. Our chaos management consulting fees are substantially higher than our standard rates. Money is no object. The Arxians have already made enough from their non-Euclidean advertising to fund the entire Federation for a decade. The counselor's facets flickered with what might have been embarrassment. Though we would appreciate it if you could convince them to stop advertising in the dimension of pure anxiety. It's making everyone rather uncomfortable. We'll add it to the list, Catherine smiled. Now, about our approach to chaos management. How do you feel about team-building exercises? The counselor's crystalline form vibrated with visible dread. Is this another human innovation? Oh no, Catherine assured them. Team-building exercises are what we do when we want to remind ourselves why we invented happy hour. As the meeting continued, Michael leaned over to Amanda. Should we tell them about corporate retreats yet? Let's save that for the premium consulting package, she whispered back. Right after we introduce them to strategic planning sessions, and before we explain about motivational speakers. In her office at the heart of Centaurus Prime, Catherine Walsh looked out at the increasingly chaotic galaxy she'd helped create and smiled. Humanity had been called a cosmic joke, but they'd turned the punchline into a consulting opportunity. And now, as the Federation grappled with concepts like casual Fridays and viral marketing, she couldn't help but wonder what would happen when they finally introduced them to the concept of social media. The galaxy, she decided, wasn't ready for Twitter. But then again, neither had Earth been, and they'd managed just fine. Mostly. Listen, I know we joked about introducing social media to the Federation, but did we really have to start with TikTok? Catherine Walsh watched in mild horror as her holoscreen displayed the latest trending video. A Crystallox Council member attempting to participate in something called the Crystal Growth Challenge. The dignified being was vibrating at specific frequencies to generate new facets, while a catchy Earth pop song played in the background. In our defense, Michael responded, not looking up from his terminal. We tried starting them with LinkedIn. The hive minds just kept making profiles for each individual drone, and then endorsing themselves for synergistic hive mind management. The Quantum Collective has discovered cat videos, Amanda announced, walking into the office with an expression that suggested she'd seen things that couldn't be unseen. They're now quantum entangling cats across multiple dimensions to create what they're calling Schrödinger's TikTok. The cats are simultaneously viral and not viral until someone watches them. Catherine took a long sip of her coffee. Please tell me we at least kept them away from Twitter. About that? Michael pulled up another holographic display. Remember how the Arxians were experimenting with non-Euclidean marketing? Well, they've figured out how to tweet in curved space-time. Their hot takes are literally bending reality. The Temporal Research Council has it worse, Amanda added. They're getting into arguments with their future selves in the quote tweets. And since they actually have time travel technology, the threads are becoming temporally recursive, the Office AI chimed in again. The Office AI. Breaking news. The Valaxian Entertainment Division has just announced a new reality show concept. The Real Househives of Sector 7, featuring the competing corporate culture factions of the Hive Mind Collective. Catherine buried her face in her hands. What's the Federation Council saying about all this? They're trying to maintain their dignity, Michael said, scrolling through his feed. Though the Grand Counselor's attempt at a professional Instagram presence was somewhat undermined when they accidentally activated the sparkle filter during an emergency session, it actually improved their appearance quite a bit. But here's the real crisis, Amanda interjected, pulling up yet another holographic display. Someone introduced them to memes. The display showed a cascade of galaxy-wide trending topics. Hashtag Crystallox Crush Challenge. Hashtag Quantum Cat Vibes. Hashtag Hive Mind Hump Day. Hashtag Throwback Thursday to the Future, posted by the Temporal Research Council. Hashtag Arxian Aesthetic Advice, posted in 7 dimensions simultaneously. The Crystallox have actually started a feeling cute might delete later trend, Michael noted. Though in their case, delete means deliberately fracture non-essential facets for the aesthetic. Catherine was about to respond when her communicator buzzed with an urgent message from the Federation Council. The Grand Counselor's image appeared, their crystals now adorned with what appeared to be digital stickers. Ambassador Walsh, they began formally, then paused to adjust their filters. We need to discuss the current social media situation. Is this about the Quantum Collective's cat videos? Because we've already asked them to stop entangling pets across dimensions. No, this is about the Hive Mind's latest platform. The Counselor's facets pulsed with concern. They've created something called Only Hives. Michael choked on his coffee for the second time that week. Do we want to know what that is? Catherine asked carefully. They're posting what they call intimate glimpses into hive mind consensus building and charging subscription fees. The counselor's tone suggested they'd seen things that no crystalline being should ever have to witness. The Arxians are their biggest subscribers. They're calling it management consulting content. Amanda quickly muted her terminal, but not before Catherine caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a hive mind drone doing a suggestive dance while explaining synergy optimization techniques. Additionally, the counselor continued, the Temporal Research Council has started something called a reaction video channel, where they react to historical events in real time by actually traveling back in time to watch them. They're calling it historical influencer content. That doesn't sound so bad, Catherine offered. They're leaving comments, Ambassador, in the actual timeline. Ah. Someone found a comment on the moon landing video that reads, first, temporally speaking, with the Temporal Research Council's official verification badge. Catherine took a deep breath. Grand Counselor, I understand your concerns. Oh, we're well past concerns, Ambassador. The Arxians have discovered something called doom scrolling, and they're doing it across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The quantum entropy levels from their collective anxiety are threatening to create a new form of space-time distortion. They're calling it the social media singularity. That's just a metaphor, right? Michael asked weakly. The quantum collective's latest measurements suggest otherwise. Apparently, the combined effect of multidimensional hot takes, temporally recursive quote tweets, and hive mind thirst traps is actually warping the fabric of reality. Catherine stood up, straightening her jacket. Right. New crisis management plan. Michael, get the Temporal Research Council to stop commenting on historical events. Amanda, tell the Quantum Collective to restrict their cat videos to this dimension only. I'll deal with the hive mind's content creation issues. And the Arxians doom scrolling? Michael asked. Introduce them to cat memes, regular ones, not quantum entangled. It's the only known cure for digital anxiety that works across species. The Grand Counselor's image flickered. Ambassador, there's one more thing. The Federation's younger species are asking about something called Reddit. Absolutely not, Catherine said firmly. The galaxy isn't ready for downvote systems. The last thing we need is the Crystallox developing a complex about their karma scores. After the counselor's image faded, Catherine turned to her team. Well, looks like we've got another crisis to manage. Anyone want to explain to the hive mind why they can't post their synergy optimization dance tutorials on the main Federation feed? Already on it, Michael replied. I'm introducing them to the concept of private accounts and work-life balance. Though explaining to a hive mind why they need to separate their professional and personal content is challenging. Just wait until they discover LinkedIn's "I'm happy to announce" posts, Amanda muttered. As the team got to work preventing the social media singularity from consuming the galaxy, Catherine couldn't help but smile. They'd been called a cosmic joke, but humanity had turned the galaxy into history's most elaborate meme. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the Arxians were probably already making a TikTok about it, in 7 dimensions, with sparkle filters. I regret to inform you, Catherine Walsh announced to her team, that the Crystallox have discovered venture capital. How bad could that be? Michael asked, immediately triggering the universe's irony sensors. They've started a startup accelerator. They're calling it Y Combinator, Crystal Edition. Their pitch deck template is literally made of crystals. Catherine pulled up a holographic presentation. And that's not even the worst part. The hive minds have begun creating tech startups, hundreds of them, all with names that deliberately drop vowels. Amanda peered at the list scrolling past. HIVVMND, Synther GI, Col KTV. Oh no, they're doing the Web 2.0 thing. The Quantum Collective has it worse, Michael added, checking his feeds. They've launched a platform called Blockchain Consciousness that's trying to tokenize quantum states. They're selling NFTs of wave function collapses. Catherine took a long sip of her now permanent coffee of V-drip. The Arxians? Developed something they're calling series funding. It exists in infinite dimensions simultaneously. Their term sheets are causing mathematical paradoxes. Amanda pulled up a document that somehow hurt to look at. Also, they've hired McKinsey. The office fell into horrified silence. McKinsey? Catherine whispered. Who taught them about management consulting firms? Every head turned to look at an empty desk in the corner, where a small nameplate read, Thomas Wilson, Strategic Innovation Consultant, currently hiding in the Andromeda Galaxy until this all blows over. The office AI chirped. Incoming emergency transmission from the Federation Council. The Grand Counselor's image appeared, their crystal structure now sporting what appeared to be a startup-branded hoodie and holographic VR glasses. Ambassador Walsh, we need to discuss the unicorn situation. The what now? Startup unicorns. Companies valued at over 1 billion credits. The Hive Mind Collective has somehow produced 12 of them this week alone. They're all competing social media platforms for different days of the week. But there are only 7 days. They invented 5 new days to increase their total addressable market. Michael quickly pulled up the data. Oh God, they're doing disruptive time innovation now. The Temporal Research Council is going to have a fit. Too late, the counselor said grimly. They've already launched their own startup. They're calling it Past Dash. It's like DoorDash, but for delivering things to yourself in the past. That's not how causality works, Amanda protested. Tell that to their Series A investors. The Arxians funded them in all 11 known dimensions simultaneously. The counselor's facets flickered with what might have been a nervous tick. But that's not why I'm calling. The Crystallox Startup Accelerator is hosting something called Demo day. Catherine felt a chill run down her spine. How many startups? 3,000. All with identical pitch decks promising to disrupt the paradigm and leverage synergistic growth opportunities. The presentations are scheduled to run simultaneously across parallel quantum states to save time. That's not possible, Amanda began, then caught herself. Though I suppose neither was Quantum Cat TikTok. Ambassador, the counselor continued, we need your help. The startup ecosystem is becoming unstable. The hive minds have started having arguments about equity splits between different segments of their collective consciousness. The quantum collective is trying to monetize uncertainty, and the Arxians... They paused dramatically. The Arxians have discovered growth hacking. How bad is it? They're growth hacking across dimensional boundaries. Their customer acquisition strategies are literally warping space-time. 3 entire star systems have been converted into what they're calling conversion funnels. Catherine stood up, straightening her jacket. A power move that had become so famous it was now being taught in Federation business schools. Right. Emergency startup containment protocols. Michael, get me a line to the hive mind VCs. Amanda, see if you can talk the quantum collective out of tokenizing Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. I'll deal with the Crystallox accelerator. What about the Arxians' growth hacking? Michael asked. Send them a link to the .com bubble history. All of it, in all dimensions. They need to learn about market corrections the hard way. After the counselor's image faded, Catherine turned to her team. Well, looks like we've got another long night ahead. Anyone want to explain to a hive mind why they can't pivot to blockchain every time they have a disagreement with themselves? Already drafting the pitch deck, Michael sighed. Though explaining MVP to a species that exists as a collective consciousness is... interesting. Just wait until they discover agile methodology, Amanda muttered. A hive mind doing daily stand-ups with itself is going to be a sight to behold. As the team prepared for their intervention in the galactic startup ecosystem, Catherine's personal communicator chimed with another message. It was from the Crystallox accelerator. Proud to announce our latest batch of startups. Highlights include Crystal Chaos, disrupting traditional crystal formation with AI-powered randomness. Quantum Cats, Web 4.0 platform for interdimensional pet sharing. Hive Mindfulness, meditation app for collective consciousnesses. Pre-seed, valuation, credits. Timefluencer, social media platform for time travelers. Currently in a temporal beta test with users from 3 different centuries. Demo day will be hosted in our new meta-quantum blockchain space. Dress code, smart casual across all dimensions. No temporal paradoxes allowed during pitches. Catherine took a deep breath and pulled up the Federation's startup regulations, a document that had grown from 3 pages to 3 million in the past month alone. It was time to teach the galaxy about the most human concept of all, regulatory compliance. But first, she had to stop the hive minds from launching their latest product, a dating app for corporate culture alignment. Some things were too dangerous even for a species that had speedrun evolution. To be continued,